Hi, everybody. How are you? We're back here together today again to talk about the colors of love. And we know that love is one of the most important things in the entire world. We all want love. We all need love. And there are many different kinds of love and many different ways of expressing love. And one of the problems in the world is that there really isn't enough love, and we see all the brokenness and the fracturing of people, all the harm that's done, all the bad things people do because somewhere along the line in their life, love failed. Now, it wasn't the love itself that failed. It was the purveyors, the benefactors, the vehicles of love that failed. So we want to talk about this because we want to help heal people. We're all hurting. We're all hurting. We've all been wounded, some much more than others. And most of us just have to keep going on and on and on without ever really getting healed on the deepest levels of our inner wounding. You often find this to be the case with heroic type people, people who are givers, who are healers, who are rescuers, people who are courageous, who always care about others and are always willing to do the right thing and don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about themselves or worrying about themselves. And one of the pitfalls for such people is they may tend to suppress the hurts that they have felt in life and never really get the healing and the inner cleaning and restoration that they need. And so what can happen later on in the life of such person is that they can break down mentally or physically or spiritually. Their relationships can break down, their work life can break down because they didn't get what they needed at the time that they needed it. I'd like to talk a little bit about my own life. My parents, like many people's parents back in the generation that I was raised in, did not really understand how to express love to their children. Children were family units. We weren't really seen as whole people, at least in my family, as children. We were just kids. We were the children, and we were just told to behave and do what we're supposed to do and don't make too much noise and etc. But our personhood, our needs, our wants, our desires weren't really regarded in the way that they should have been. Now, that was just the entry-level offense that I experienced. That was the least of all of the experiences. But these are the kinds of things that people go through. And what happens is when kids are told, be quiet, just, be a good boy, be a good girl, you grow up somehow internalizing that you should be quiet. You shouldn't have a voice. You shouldn't have anything to say. What you say doesn't really matter. It doesn't have a place, and so on and so forth. So it can be different for everyone. But I know that for myself, as someone who's now producing my own records and singing and doing different things, being told to be quiet has actually internalized itself, even in my vocalizations, where it's hard for me to actually open up my throat, open up my, the inner part of myself required to produce beautiful tones, to sing, to be free vocally, because of that early life conditioning where I was told always, just be quiet, just be quiet. And it's ironic because I was a very quiet child. I really wasn't a loud or noisy child. I was a quiet child. And yet, this was what was reinforced into my psyche. And so now at this age, I still have to try to overcome what was imposed upon me as a child. Now, everyone has these kinds of things. Everyone has things that have been imposed upon you as a child or things that were neglected and overlooked, that you really felt very strongly and you were trying to emerge as an individual, and somehow love failed at that moment. Again, it wasn't the love itself that failed, but it was the failure of those who needed to minister to you in love, to us in love, that were unable to do so or not knowledgeable about how to do so at the time of your greatest need. Now, scientists have found out that love is actually like a substance. Love helps children grow. There was an experiment, perhaps some of you have seen this on the internet, where they put 3 different plants, the same exact kind of plant, the same soil, everything the same, the light, the watering, the glass that they were contained in, everything was exactly the same. The only thing that was different is that one plant, human beings would gather around this plant and say, "Oh, we love you. You're so beautiful. You're so wonderful. We just love you." And they would radiate the substance and frequency of love at this plant. And this plant grew big and strong and healthy and beautiful. It was full of life. Another plant, they neglected. They did nothing for this plant. Barely watered. They just gave the same amount of water that all the other plants would get, same amount of light, but nobody paid it any attention. And this plant didn't grow that well. This plant didn't grow as well as the plant that was loved. It was paler in color. It was smaller, drier. It was definitely less, it was shorter, less vital. Much less vital. And then there was the third plant. And the third plant, again, got the same amount of light and water and soil and all of that. But people would gather around this plant, human beings would gather around this plant and say, "We hate you. You're ugly. You're stupid. You're no good. You shouldn't live. Die, die, die." Whatever they did, things of that nature, which was kind of sad in a way. The plant withered up and died. Now, this was a science experiment, and this actually happened. Now, this is not the only proof that this is the effects of love and hate and neglect in society. But we've also seen, and there are very many reliable studies that show that babies that do not receive enough love, I mean, they might get all the material things. They might get great nutrients from their mother's milk. They might get supplemental vitamins or whatever. They may get the softest, cushiest crib to sleep in. And everything else physically is there for that child and that baby. But if they're not given love, they're shown that they actually develop physical deficits, both in the body and in the brain. And later on, that can show up in terms of their personality development when they begin going through their developmental stages. But then that gets complicated because there's a lot more that's added to the equation as the child goes along. But love is a substance. You can feel it. You can feel when somebody loves you, and you can feel when they don't. And we die and we starve. We inwardly starve. We were made to be loved. We were made to love. In the Bible, it says God is love. So that means we have all come forth from the source of love, and we're supposed to remain that substance. Now, there are a lot of different ways to express love. And everybody has a different love language. So it is complicated. Life is very complicated. When it comes to love, there's no one size fits all. Because for one person, love is to give them gifts. They feel loved. Another person is to hear in their ear, "I love you, I love you, I love you." Another person is just spending time with that person. That person just wants you to spend some time. And by that, they feel loved. Another person might need to be protected, someone to shield them from all the harm that's out there. But one thing is for sure is that we all have our own unique love language, and that language is extremely important. Now, it's not only human beings that need love. As I mentioned, even the plants around us, everything responds to love. I am certain that love is some kind of a substance that can actually be measured and studied. We're just not able to do it yet. I believe it is the substance that holds all of life together. It's somewhere in the quarks and the electron shells, just like photons are on the electron shells. Somewhere The substance of love is in every single thing, especially every living thing. Every living thing has the substance of love, and it needs it recharged and revitalized. Otherwise, it cannot live. It will die. We all die without love. A broken heart can kill someone. We talk about that. So we want to learn how to express love. And this is something that I really believe that children should be learning in school when they're growing up. I mean, we should have classes. We should have, education as to how to love, how not to hate, because it's through love that we gain understanding. When you love and you have that substance working within you and you meet other people, you're not going to judge them. You're not going to say, oh, look at that person, blah, 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 whatever about them you don't like. And, run off this litany of traits about this person you can't stand. But you're going to look through the eyes of love and maybe see something completely different than what you initially saw when that person appeared in your view. Now, again, don't be misled. I mean, there are bad people in the world. There are dangerous people in the world. There are people who are, even if they're broken, even if they have a tragic past, at the moment, they can be very harmful to you. So love can't be naive. Love can't be foolish. Love has to be wise. Without love being wise, love can be deadly to the lover. And that's a choice that you have to make if you're willing to suffer to that extent by being the one who loves. Sometimes it's called for, but sometimes it's not the wisest decision. When I look at the world and I look at all the beauty of nature, there are times when I have actually left my house, I'm driving in my car or I'm walking outside, and I could feel so much love, like just all around me, like as if it was the dew rising or condensation rising from the ground. And at the same time, I could feel it pouring down out of the sky. And so the one rising up meets the one coming down, and I'm in the middle and rejoicing in it. It is such a beautiful feeling to feel every cell in your body tingling and energized with love. So with this show, we're going to talk about some of the hard aspects of love. We're going to talk about the beautiful aspects. We're going to talk about all the different kinds of love. I do liken it to the rainbow, and we're going to get into why we compare love to the rainbow and the 7 different kinds of love, which is romantic love, family love, friendship love, the love of life, inspired love, love of the truth, and the selfless love of God. We have those 7 types, and each one is different, and one flows from the other into the other. And to have the full spectrum is the ideal place to be in life. But we also want to remember that it's more blessed to give than to receive. So the giving of love is sometimes the best way to receive love. Even if it appears that you're not getting anything back, just by virtue of giving, you're energizing and supercharging and drawing in love from God, from around us. It's all around us. You're drawing it in, and then you're passing it to one who's in need to resuscitate their soul or help them in life. So next time, we're going to get into a little bit more about romantic love. We'll talk about specifically in our next broadcast, and we'll go into a lot of depth about that, because if you think about the rainbow, there are really, every time you see a rainbow, there are 2. We use red as the symbol of the romantic love, and I'll explain that next time. But when you see a rainbow, there's actually 2 bows, and the colors are reversed. But the main brightest bow that you see, the red, is the largest band. Because in this world, most people seek romantic love above all other kinds of love. That is the most popular. All the advertising dollars, everything runs toward romantic love. All the music and everything. It's very important to everyone. So we'll talk about that and why that band is the largest, but yet in the second bow, it's the smallest. And that's a mystery. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time, and happy to be with you and to serve you in love. God bless you.